I need them bags, all that money. Stick up, I see them ass for that money. All my ladies get it up. I see you, I do the same. Take it to another level, no passengers on my plane. I'm not the diva. Hey. I'm not the diva. Hey. I'm not the diva. Hey. I'm not the diva. This is a stick up, you see the mask with that money. Diva is a female version of a hustler.
Black crime is a made up thing. You have never heard white on white crime, never heard the Asian on Asian crime. They have tried to fraction and compartmentalize us to feel as if where the crime is where we are. Lead murderers in America are white men. The lead robbers in America are white men. The largest amount of rapists are white men. The highest number of domestic abusers is white men. The highest number of arrested pedophiles is white men. The greatest number of drug dealers arrested is white men. But if you ask the average American who are the proponents of crime, there's a black face to it. It has always shifted to make black men feel hyper-aggressive, hypersexual, and hyper-criminalized. It's part of a larger, historic, original sin of America that always criminalizes and points their fingers at black men when it's absolutely not true.
And we are back. You are listening to WVON. That's right. It's the Cleopatra Show. And we are up live on Facebook. Be sure to like the WVON page. Interact with me. I'll be sure to talk back with you. If you would like to keep up with me exclusively, be sure to follow me across all social media platforms. And listen, guys, I think you recognize his voice. That's right. It was Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant, who was just here with me last Friday. So just a couple days ago. And he's speaking to what I would defend to be the truth. I definitely want to hear from you. Of course, the time is Delta time. It's 9:13 on the dot. The phone lines are definitely yours. 773-591-1690. Black on black crime. White on white crime. Asian on Asian crime. Latino on Latino crime. Is it a thing? But the true things that he did say is what is being mystified. The uptick that has always been a real situation in white America with violence. But yet and still in the hyper-concentrated areas of where black folk live, we become the face. Why am I laying the ground rules? Because I'm about to build a house. And some of us don't want to dwell in this house, but we're going to have to kick it here for a little bit because of today's show. It is Manic Monday, and it has been some wild things pop off on a Monday. And surviving Trump and making it to work on Monday is always a real task in America, and yet and still we're here. And I am going to discuss a crime spree, carjacking. It is a thing that is not exclusive to Chicago. It is often found, particularly in metropolitan areas, big cities. It's not to say it doesn't happen in rural areas, but not as often. And then ultimately, this carjacking led to a death and some destruction. And it has been a thing for quite a while. And when I put up the faces, I don't want you all to get lost and what black families need to do and how black families need to strengthen. That rhetoric don't move me because a lot of us do. And, when people make these decisions, good, bad, or indifferent, they have to live with consequences. And this story, although tragic, speaks volumes to me preparing a shield of armor around myself today for those that will fall victim to the trope of black on black crime. Crime is crime, no matter what color you are, but particularly when crime is impacted in other communities, you don't hear it as much. For example, there was just a whisper of a shooting at Mar-a-Lago. Secret Service killed a person for stepping into the private sector of Mar-a-Lago. But what you did not hear, that this said person was Caucasian, male, of the tender age of 21, shotgun locked, loaded, and ready. And he had another device to set ablaze. You don't get that description. In fact, all of the pronounced assassination attempts on your president have fit the same description, actually. White, male, young, locked and loaded, and identifiably Trump supporters. Vote Republican. Identifiably. You don't get that said description. Nor do I get the call, "Oh, Cleopatra, did you see the white on white crime?" So I want us to be open today in terms of how we've been programmed and just be receptive of that word, program, because it is a ton of white on white crime all day, every day. But you'll never hear it as such, and you'll never hear it described as such. In fact, the description is so ambiguous and so vague. That's how you know that they were white. Because had they been black, brown, the world would know it. And every media outlet plays a part in that. And it is a cabal. It truly is. Even when I listen to the Black News Information Network, the black mayor of the city of Chicago, we know he black. But because they the Black News Information, okay, you got to say that they black. No, you don't. Unless you're going to lead with the color of everybody you identify, and you don't. Right? So everybody plays this role in the cabal. Right? And what is the cabal? Ultimately, fear-mongering. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I want to leave you all with this before we go to break. The question is, where do you get your crime facts on in America? Where? Like statistically. And it's cool if you say, well, I have Fox or WGN or ABC, whatever you do. I dig it. But where do you get your crime facts in America? It does matter, because that speaks to our understanding of what we understand in society, right? Because I'm going to discuss Teens Gone Wild, but that is so massive in terms of at large, and it gives this false narrative that they all gone mad. That's not true. But there are a handful of them that have gone out of their mind completely, and this upcoming story speaks to it, because now is blood on their hands, and they're not alone. There are teens across the country that have gotten down dirty and involved in stuff that they can't get out of. We know this to be true. But yet and still, I wanted to make sure before we put a face or we put a tail on the piñata that we don't beat it to death. Because there are plenty of areas of where we can point at with crime. But when it comes to Black America, I wanted to speak to the trope of black on black crime. Thank you. Juxtaposed to crime. And bottom line, crime is just crime. So 773-591-1690. Brother Wall says he's present for class. Who else is present for class? Check on in. Be sure to let me know that you're here. Quintella, I see you. Good morning. Good morning, Lee. Good morning, Jamari, Richie, Rufus. And when we come back, class is in session. I just want to lay the ground rules before we play the game. You don't want to miss this.
More from Cleopatra coming up next on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Catch Reverend Al Sharpton online at WVON.com or on the WVON app. Just click the Al Sharpton banner. Tune in every day at 12 noon for your daily dose. And if you miss it, catch the overnight replay from midnight to 3 a.m. We're keeping it real with Al Sharpton on WVON 1690.
Tell everybody, Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Whatever you do, keep it real.
It's the afternoon show with Atiba Buchanan and LaDonna Ray, your new favorite part of the day.
Tune in 3 to 6 Monday through Thursday on WVON 1690 AM. We ask the questions you're thinking.
And the ones you're afraid to ask.
The afternoon show,
only on WVON.
Tuned in to your favorite WVON personalities on Facebook Live? Don't just watch, like it, love it, share it. Every click helps us grow the conversation and keep the community strong. So remember, like it, love it, share it, Chicago.
What if you could have the most reliable fiber-powered Wi-Fi? And get this, what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. 5 years of Wi-Fi that boosts speeds to the devices that need them most, that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense, and that keeps you gaming in the fast lane, even when the whole family is banking on bandwidth. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and our best equipment included. Plus, get online in no time with same-day Wi-Fi. Hey, let's face it, a lot can change in 5 years. Kids grow taller, dreams grow bigger, but your Wi-Fi, it would stay reliable and the price would stay put. The Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Xfinity. Imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA Fixed Broadband Experience Report, May 2025. Actual speeds vary. Xfinity Internet powered by fiber and connected to the premises by coaxial cable.
WVON traffic and weather now.
Chicago, good morning and happy Monday. Those travel times, they are building across the expressways. We begin on the Stevenson. Tri-State 2 due Sabo, Lakeshore Drive, 23 minutes. Slow go inbound between Central and Western. The Dan Ryan 95th to downtown, an 18-minute ride, slow moving in the local lanes. Inbound between 43rd and Roosevelt. No worries on I-57. We are looking good in both directions. And due Sabo, Lakeshore Drive, Hollywood to Monroe, delay free, 11 minutes. Your weather for today, mostly cloudy. You can expect some lake effect snow, a high of 29, and tonight a low of 20. Tomorrow, scattered flurries. I'm Candace McCollum with an update on the roads on the Talk of Chicago 1690 WVON.
And now back to the Cleopatra Show on the Talk of Chicago 1690 WVON.
Good morning, and we are back. The time is 9:23. You are listening to the Cleopatra Show. And yes, class is in session, and we are discussing a thing. Is it really a thing? Now, Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant was with us Friday, and I had his voice speak to us today about the age-old trope, black-on-black crime. And some black folk love to project it. Talking about it's a damn shame how them black folks out there killing black people. We've been the most hunted in America that have lived to tell the story. Now, it's no shade away from the natives. All right, I can't take it away from the Native Americans. They got their own story, but our journey has not been easy, and it still isn't. Right, in current day. So the question is, where do you get your facts on crime in America? What am I chipping at? At 9:30, I'm discussing Teens Gone Wild. It was a big thing, actually, when I was a teenager. Shout out to Sally Jesse Raphael. Anybody remember her? Fiery red hair and red glasses. And she wasn't no punk. And it's not that I was going to be the teen going to boot camp, but it was on Ricky Lake. And it was just like a thing. And what you wasn't going to do. And it was primarily girls that have lost their minds. Okay. But my mother, all of 5'5", I wasn't gonna make it to the show alive. Okay. It just wasn't gonna happen. Even in my wildest dreams of my debut or stardom. Yeah, okay. Wasn't gonna happen. So in black households, it was very rare teens went wild. But now Now, what is happening? So at 9:30, we're going to discuss carjackings. And I think it's important to lay the groundwork before we start the black on black crime thing with white on white crime in America. And I'm asking, where do you get your crime facts from? So that I don't have to set you straight. Because although it's not to say that we live in a utopia, we're far from it. And it's not to say that crime doesn't happen in black community. Oh no, it goes down. But not in totality. So when you look at the bigger picture, in every subcategory, definitively, Caucasian Americans lead. It's just that simple. But why don't you hear it contextually like that? For example, when I talk about the upteen attempt on President Trump and his life was yet the same description: Caucasian male, young, gun locked and loaded. That is the defining moment here in America. And the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, has defined it as such to be the biggest threat in America to be the Caucasian male in America. So if the FBI can say it, why won't you raise up the truth, Black America? I'm going straight to the phone line, 773-591-1690. Let's talk to Andre. Andre, welcome to WVON.
Hey, good morning, Ms. Cleopatra. Happy Monday to you.
Likewise.
Hey, you threw about 3 things out there. Are we allowed to talk about Jamal Bryant? Because that's what I called for.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what Jamal Bryant did, he made a point without trying to make the point, and that is, this is why we get so angry and upset with some of our black celebrities and people in the black community when they take to the white man's drama, because we offended and they play into the stereotype. Kanye West and the likes of them, they play into these stereotypes about us. Just like Jamal said, we get faulted and blamed for everything. And this is why one black man to another, I get angry and upset when they do something, because it's a reflection on us. I mean, they called us lazy and shiftless for years. They say we the only one that's committing crime. We the biggest dope dealer, drug dealer. They put that label on us, and we don't like that stereotype. So yeah, when we see a Kanye West go and meet with Donald Trump and call him Superman, when we see Kanye West publicists go down there and intimidate Ruby Freeman and get a confess to lie, we offended by that stuff. Because when a black man or a woman does something, it plays into the stereotype. So a lot of it could be, I guess, defined as black on black hatred, but we offended. We're an extension of each other. When one of us do something, it somehow affects all of us as a black person. So like Jamal said, if we know that stereotype is out there, like what he said, then why do we go and play into it? Why do our celebrities play into it? Whether it's Snoop Dogg, whoever it is, Nicki Minaj, Kanye West, why do they play into these things if they know? Yeah, we upset with Kanye because it's a reflection on all of us with what he do. We don't like that. And we know that the white folks don't even like them. If they wasn't who they are, they wouldn't even have a platform. If they wasn't rich and successful because of their skin color. That's the only reason why they're allowed to even come in their vicinity, is because they're rich and wealthy. Thank you, Ms. Cleopatra.
Absolutely. I mean, Andre said it best. Is it the isms? And we're going to get to that this week. Classism, the racism, socioeconomic divides as opposed to how we view them. But hyper locally, for those of us that live throughout the city of Chicago, you know something about carjackings, whether you have been victimized yourself. And yet still, what does it say? Particularly when teens are doing it. And these teens definitely went wild. When we return, 2 teens charged with killing 2 men one in Lakeview and one in Bronzeville during a carjacking spree. So they were on a free-for-all, and this is beyond wild. When we return, Michael Liptrot is going to join me on the show. He's a friend of the show, and you don't want to miss this. We'll be back.
More from Cleopatra coming up next on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This is Kamini Khan, certified financial planner professional from the Wealth Strategy Show, now airing every Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. I'm here with the Wealth Strategies tip of the week. When it comes to investing your money, it's important to have a well thought out strategy. Your investment strategy should take in consideration your financial goals, how much risk you're willing to take on, your tax situation, and what products fit your needs. Having a well thought out investment strategy can put you in a better position to weather the storm of turbulence in the market. To learn more, please visit WVONwealthshow.com.
Komini Khan is a certified financial planner professional with Optimal Planning Partners in alliance with Equitable Advisors LLC member SIPC in Oak Brook, Illinois. For more information, please call 630-575-5046.
Maria Pappas with Black Houses Matter.
We're up to $385,632,000. This is 208,000 African Americans that this little WVON station has delivered $385 million to. I mean, this is newsworthy.
Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas with Black Houses Matter. Monday mornings at 11:30 a.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. You never know who's going to stop by WVON.
Brother Robert Townsend in the studio from the West Side.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Michael J. White, good morning and welcome to WVON.
Thank you.
Abby Phillip, welcome to WVON. How are you?
I'm so great. Thanks so much for having me.
Brian Urlacher. What's up, Brian? Pleasure to have you on the show.
Appreciate you having me on.
We are the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
I'm Candace McCollum, and here's what's happening in your local news. Union postal carriers in Chicago are demanding a fair contract. USPS workers were joined by Governor Pritzker and other elected leaders as they rallied yesterday on Chicago's South Side as part of a day of action by the National Association of Letter Carriers.
Prescriptions to those who can't get to the pharmacy, ballots to the voters, letters to our loved ones. You keep our nation and our people connected. We can't survive without you.
Union leaders say the workers are demanding higher pay and better working conditions. The demands come as President Trump has previously said he is considering privatizing USPS. In other news, the late Reverend Jesse Jackson will be honored this week following his death at the age of 84. Several faith leaders paid tribute to the fallen civil rights leader on Saturday at Rainbow Push headquarters on the South Side.
We met a man by the name of Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson, who has changed Chicago, who has changed America, and he has changed the world.
A number of blankets were blessed at the event and then delivered to shelters and community centers. Jackson's body will lie in state on Thursday and Friday at Rainbow Push. Celebrations of life will take place in South Carolina and Washington, D.C. before a private homegoing service that will be held on March 7th at Push. A live stream of the service will be shared with the public. And a Cook County judge is ordering the cash-strapped village of Dalton to create a plan to pay a $33 million judgment from a 2022 lawsuit. South Suburban Village officials presented concerns last week that Judge William Sullivan would force the Dalton Board to pass a bond that would raise property taxes. The village was given 3 options to pay off the debt, which includes issuing a tax levy increase, issue a bond, or increase costs of services. Dalton owes $40.6 million to the families of John Kiles, who died following a 2016 police chase, and Diane Dunlap, who was left severely injured. I'm Candace McCollum, and that's what's happening in your news now on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This place has a pulse. You hear it in the canopy, feel it in the ground. Life, fully illuminated, engulfs you. From the birds singing in the treetops above to the tiniest insects in the soil below. You take a deep, cleansing breath, filling your lungs with the essence of the forest. Now, imagine it's all gone. Healthy, life-giving forests reduced to nothing. No singing birds, no lush canopy, and water and food in short supply around the world. Time is running out to protect our forests, and without our love, they can and will disappear. It's our choice. Love it or lose it. Help protect our forests. Visit World Wildlife Fund at wwf.org/love.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Kyle Cox started Blindster in his garage back in 2010. Since then, they've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters nationwide. Their blinds are DIY friendly, guaranteed to fit, and always cheaper than big box stores. Blindster.com.
And now back to the Cleopatra Show on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
To win, somebody's got to lose. I might as well get over.
And we are back. The time is 9:37. Of course, you're listening to the Cleopatra Show, and we're getting right to it. Now, I'm ripping off the Band-Aid. Teens gone wild. On the screen yard here, you will see the victims. There were two men, young men, that were killed. To the left is Damon Kellum, and to the right is Darwin Tirado. They were killed an hour apart during a carjacking spree on February the 11th. Damon lived in Bronzeville. Darwin lived in Lakeview. Now, what I'm going to discuss is teens that were charged with the killing of these two men, and the accusations are this: the fatal shooting of Darwin Tirado, age 22, is to the right, during the carjacking in Lakeview before killing Damon Kellum, 45, during an attempt in Bronzeville. Now, remember, I want you all to think about, where do you get your facts in terms of crime in America? And the victims, one African American, Black, and the other Latino. On the live line to discuss his colleague's article with us is Michael Liptrot of Block Club Chicago. Michael, welcome back to the Cleopatra Show.
Thank you for having me, Cleopatra. I'm glad to be here to break this down, especially these very unfortunate and horrible circumstances.
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. I mean, one,
yes.
The brother to the left life is literally just beginning. And the young man to the right, he hadn't even started to open the door. And both of whom are gone. So talk to us about the facts.
Yes, Cleopatra. So these two deaths stem from a carjacking spree that took place on Wednesday, February 11th in the early morning hours. So a little before, right around 4 a.m., two teenagers, Marquise Hill, who's 18, Marshawn Sanders, 17, were both out in the area, and CBD are saying there's an additional accomplice. But they were out, and they were in Lakeview when Tirado was getting into one of his friend's Hyundais that was parked in the area, and he was leaving a bar. And that's when they approached him. They shot him, and they stole the car. And then from that, they took the Hyundai that they had just carjacked and went south on Lakeshore. Got off on 31st Street. And then cameras saw this whole transition. And then that's when they ended up in Bronzeville as Damon Kellum was just sitting in his car. And that's when they approached him. shot him, and then took his Nissan Altima. And it's really sad when you think about it. It didn't just stop there. They took Damon's car and they went to a BP gas station on Wentworth, and they tried to carjack a 70-year-old man who was in a Lexus SUV. Luckily, that man was able to run with his keys with him, so they couldn't carjack him. And then they kept going. They went to 87th and Lafayette, and they blocked in a Chevy Malibu, and they took that car as well. And that car was found in Gary, Indiana. So it's really, really unfortunate circumstances. Later, the teens were both arrested. Hill was arrested on the 15th, related to retail theft in Lincoln Park. And both of them are being charged with 2 counts of murder, as well as additional felonies in conjunction with the carjackings. So this is really unfortunate, Cleopatra.
I mean, it's disturbing. It is absolutely disturbing on many fronts, because it could be to you or I, and clearly they didn't care about life. And that is the deeper impact. The vehicle, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, because working families, people who doesn't want to keep their vehicle, but when it comes to who doesn't want to keep your life, I think folks choose life over a vehicle. And neither of whom were given an option. And that's what I think about more than anything, is who was Damon? 45? Was he a father? Was he this? Was he that? When I look at the other young man, Darwin, life just began at 22. And I think about, where was I at 22? I was in grad school, of course, but I was just walking along life, and you leave in a bar, that's normal. And what isn't normal is being targeted. So I would like to hear, from February 11th, when were they, you said that they were arrested fairly recent thereafter.
Yes. So this Marquise Hill was arrested February 15th in Lincoln Park. He later went on to commit some retail theft. And actually, when he was arrested, they found the clothes that he was on camera wearing during the carjacking spree on February 11th. And so 4 days later, caught with the same ones. And then Sanders was also arrested at a later date. And so it's really unfortunate, Cleopatra. And especially like you said, Tirado and Kellum, neither one of them had the option to just give up the car and go. Because most people, when having a gun pointed at you, though it's not fun to a car you're paying for, though it's not anything anyone wants to do, most people will give up the car in exchange for their life. But as CPD and as prosecutors have laid out the case in terms of the proffer and everything, it's pretty much they showed up and shot and went and then took things from there. And it's something that I think is on a lot of people's minds. The realities of.
No, I mean, you get into it. The reality of what?
Oh, the realities of just sadly in the city of Chicago and in certain neighborhoods, particularly carjackings and car break-ins. It comes to mind back this month. Hyde Park had over 30 break-ins across the weekend, February 7th and February 8th. There was over 30 cars that were broken into in Hyde Park. That was in 2 days. February. Wow. That was in 2 days. That Hyde Park break-in spree, and for me, this is something that resonates with me personally. Where when I first moved to Chicago back 3.5, almost 4 years ago, I was living in Hyde Park, and I was driving a Nissan Maxima, and I had my car broken into twice over the course of a year. And I was paying extra to have my car parked in a parking deck, thinking it was secure. And after that, I ended up just trading cars and getting something more low key, because that's something I had to think about, especially as I go out and do stories. Though these were break-ins, the reality that somebody might try to get the car while I'm in it, that's something I didn't want to have to be thinking about as I'm going about the city doing my job.
Well, let me say
I'm
this.
sure a lot of people are thinking the same. Yeah.
What it highlights for me, and it's very emotional for me to talk about, is the reality of a city that I love and have been raised in, and I want to see thrive. Is where is it safe? Now here it is. Now I'm far south, but you said one of these stories, that baby lost his life in Lakeview. See, there's an ideology that is safer north. You know why? Because their life expansion is greater than mine. My life is cut down 20 years because of where I live. And their quality of life is better from where they live. And they being those that live north. But this is transpiring all across. And it further exasperates. And it's not to say that crime doesn't happen up north. The caliber of crime that happens up north is petrifying for me when it comes to sexual assault and sexual aggravation. That is more prevalent there. I'm no fool. However, when it comes to this type of activity, it makes me a little shaken to know that, okay, eventually if I ever make it out of my community and I arrive, air quote, to what is proclaimed to be a better community, that I will have a better advantage. But you just talked about the crime spree of Hyde Park. Now, because I'm a graduate of Kenwood, I've known that to be the case for a long time. It's just been very woefully underreported, to be brutally honest with you. However, there has been an uptick, but not as aggressive as we're seeing now. And I would like to correlate that when we come back to a couple things. Right now, who's on the chopping block is working families of America and our ability to eat and provide housing, shelter, food for ourselves and our children. And then ultimately, people that are of desperate minds do desperate things. And if you can't earn it, you think it's okay to take it. And sadly, they took the lives of these two men, young men. And with that being said, it begs the question, Michael, as you cover stories across the city, where is it safe in Chicago? Hold that thought. When we come back, I have Michael Liptrot on the live line with us as we discuss. Initially, I called this segment Teens Gone Wild, but they've lost their damn minds. When you take the lives of people for a vehicle, you've changed the trajectory of their families' lives forever. We'll be back after this break.
More from Cleopatra coming up next on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Black Creativity 2026 is now open at the Griffin Museum of Science and Industry. The exhibit features the nation's longest running exhibition of Black art, plus interactive family experiences, STEAM career showcases, youth flight school camps, and signature events throughout the season. From art and innovation to education and community celebration, Black Creativity uplifts the voices, stories, and contributions of Black artists across generations. Buy tickets today at griffinmsi.org.
This Black History Month, WVON is coming with a message. Kiss My Black Past. We're partnering with adopted Chicago artist Keith David Connor, the visionary behind Black history illustrations that have inspired Chicago for years. His latest work, The Culture Proud Calendar, connects to WVON's Eracism campaign at a time when Black history and Black identity are under attack. This month, we're not just celebrating the past, we're protecting it and pushing forward. Unapologetically Black, unapologetically proud. This Black History Month, WVON doesn't just honor history, we make it.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel. Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That fun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
It's the morning show.
When you start to get into this conversation about slavery, we're talking about slavery in the United States of America. When we talk about what's at the Smithsonian, this is not a reach across the world. This is about what took place here in the United States of America, and slavery followed by Jim Crow, followed by and continuing through this whole issue of white supremacy is real.
It's the morning show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. And now back to the Cleopatra Show on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
We are amazed but not amused by all the things you say that you do. You're much concerned but not involved with decisions that are made by
and wreaked havoc. Those are the words prosecutors used to describe a carjacking spree that spread from the north side to the south side. The suspects, just 17 and 18 years old, appeared in court this afternoon. They're accused of killing two people as they moved from neighborhood to neighborhood. It took more than 5 hours for proceedings to get underway, but the suspects behind a deadly crime spree in Chicago finally appeared in front of a Cook County judge Saturday. 18-year-old Marquise Hill and 17-year-old Marshawn Sanders, who is being charged as an adult, are facing multiple charges, including first-degree murder and aggravated vehicular hijacking. The judge didn't mince words when ordering the duo to remain in custody pending trial, saying they pose an absolute threat to the community. Investigators say
an absolute threat to the community. You are listening to the Cleopatra Show. The time is 9:53. On the live line is Michael Liptrot of Block News Chicago here in the city, and he is reporting on his colleague's article to raise awareness about this teen carjacking spree that led to 2 murders and an excessive amount of carnage. Michael, before you came on, I thought it was best to lay down some ground rules. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know, I didn't want us to get lost in the age-old trope of black on black crime, because we rarely raise up white on white crime, which is leading in America. So to my listening audience, I wanted to ask them, you know, where do you get your crime from, your crime stats from, you know, in America? Because I think it's very important, because it helps to illuminate a picture that we have versus what is real, and then what is pseudo, and then where's the fear mongering in between. Because although this stretched all across the city in this insular incident, too often we hear a hyper reporting from black communities as opposed to our white communities, and it makes this idea, this falsehood, as though crime does not happen, and that's not true. It is different levels to it. It's different, it's calibers, if you will. What do you say to that?
I say you're definitely right when it comes to being mindful of where you get your crime news from, and understanding biases that different outlets could have, because it can perpetuate certain narratives and stereotypes about areas. Both nationally, it can create this narrative that we all feel in Chicago, of what the president describes as us being, you know, a crime-ridden hellscape, versus the reality that the city just saw a 60-year low in murders. And also when it comes to neighborhood reporting, being mindful of the news that you consume, because it can definitely, create the further segregation within the city and the perceptions of one side being safer than the other, when the reality is, like we're talking about with this situation, you see someone got carjacked and shot in Lakeview, somebody got carjacked and shot, both died in Bronzeville. And so you see that when it comes to this, people who are looking to harm people, they aren't particularly looking at what neighborhood am I in, on whether or not I'm going to kill somebody. Yeah. And even beyond, what I'm saying, look at the data too. I remember when I first was really digging into crime, this was back Chicago crime back in 2022, 2023. There was this big investigation in the Chicago Sun-Times by Stephanie Zimmerman, and it was looking at catalytic converter theft, and it had a map that showed how widespread it is, and actually it being concentrated more so on the north side and then expanding into the south and west sides. And so when you think about, especially with carjacking,
wait a minute, Michael. So that expresses for a Southsider, a far Southsider, you know what that map expresses? By the time they got to us, they were desperate. I hate to say it, but if the good was getting in the north side and then they tapped it too long, then they said, well, we'll take our chances and go south and west side. That's the best way I can explain it.
And it's sad. It's sad.
It is, because it's funny, but it ain't funny. Yeah. But that does expound, the desperation of, hey, we can't hit that lick no more. And this is a city of, if I find a lick, I'm gonna lick it, And they tap the well too much.
Right. And especially when we think about with the narratives of the city, of how a lot of people perceive wealth and resources to be spread out in the city. And it was a shame for me when last week we saw that what people are calling the false spring, and things warmed up for a bit. And the first thing I see go viral is a man being robbed in, I believe, West Loop. And people pulling up. I don't know if you saw that video, white man coming out of a restaurant, I believe, and getting robbed and beat, and his money taken as soon as the weather warms up. And thinking to myself, like, is this the reality that we're in when things warm up and people get back outside?
It is, though. Now, see, juxtapose it, and I'm always finding some comedy. I text a buddy of mine. I said, well, what you on? He said, I'm on my old man thing. I'm getting my car washed. Okay. So that let me know, oh, yeah, it's warm outside. But it also gives me anxiety when I hear into the wee hours when my neighbor, won't turn it down. Right. And I said, oh, here we go. Right. It's levels to my love and my in and out of love of my city at times, because we can get abusive. On the StreamYard, for those that are asking, this is the suspect. Now, the reason why we don't have the image of the other suspect is because he is technically a minor, even though they're trying to charge him as an adult. This person is 18 and the other is 17. And I deliberately call him a person because he's not a man. He doesn't know what manhood is. And unfortunately, he's going to learn what that is behind bars. If he doesn't lose his manhood behind bars, he's going to learn. And hopefully he'll find the ability to have these families forgive him. But right now, the person of interest, the suspect, is on the StreamYard. His name is Marquise Hill, and he is African American. And I wanted to build those stairs. And I thank you for helping me lay some foundation today, Michael, when it comes to how we see things, because I hope you listen thereafter, because I'm curious to know where we getting our crime facts from, because it does paint this illustration as though we are the face, as I have up this Black person's face now. And we're not the face of crime in America. We're not. We're the least of these, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen in our community and we don't partake in it. But we're not the overwhelming attribute of it. And that was what I wanted to expound upon with you. So I thank you for helping to uplift the story today.
Anytime, Cleopatra. It's always a pleasure to be on, even when it comes to these tough topics.
Absolutely. And I have to have you back soon because I need a report on Douglas. I haven't forgot him.
Okay.
I haven't.
All right. Sounds good.
Another killer in our community, and I would like to know what's going on with him. Listen, guys, when we come back, I'm going to take your calls. I see Franklin, JT, Art. The phone lines are yours, and I see you all in the chat. You don't want to miss this. We'll be back.
I'm Candace McCollum, and here are your WVON news headlines. Faith leaders honor Reverend Jesse Jackson at weekend Rainbow Push Coalition event. Postal carriers rally on South Side for fair contract. And Cook County judge orders Dalton to create plan for paying $33 million judgment. We will have details on these stories and much more headed your way. National news from the Black Information Network is up next on Chicago's only urban talk radio station, WVON, 1690 AM, Berwyn, Chicago.
Here's BIN News Now.
Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro is warning that President Trump's push to keep tariffs in place despite the Supreme Court's ruling will only create more chaos.
I think there's real legal questions. And look, we've seen now that the president was acting outside his legal authority. By the way, not a new thing for him.
The court said the White House overreached under the Emergency Economic Powers Act. A new Economist YouGov poll finds 47% of Americans say the word racist describes President Trump, while 24% disagree. The poll follows backlash over a video Trump shared that briefly depicted Barack and Michelle Obama as apes, something he later blamed on a staffer. And the cause of death for Florida rapper Lil Papa is now confirmed as a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The 25-year-old born Janarius Wheeler rose to fame at 18 with music about surviving a shooting in Jacksonville. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app. Now back to Terry McCready.
California Governor Gavin Newsom says President Trump is flailing after the Supreme Court ruled against most of his tariffs. The Democrat making the comment on CNN's State of the Union after Trump announced a new 15% global tariff hike following the High Court's decision.
I mean, the whole thing is a farce. I talk about petulance. It was 10% 2 days ago, maybe 20% tomorrow. I mean, this is madness.
Newsom also called on the president to refund the revenue from the tariffs. The High Court ruled last week the White House was unjustified in issuing sweeping tariffs under the Emergency Economic Powers Act. U.S. tariff policies negatively impact African economies by reducing export demand, hobbling GDP growth, and threatening manufacturing jobs. A 10 percentage point tariff hike could slash African exports to the U.S. by more than 8%, with significant disruptions in countries like Lesotho and Botswana.
I've never met Donald Trump, but I don't like his policies, and his policies are hurtful to Georgia.
Black former mayor of Atlanta, Keisha Lance Bottoms, weighing in about the president last year, and she was on hand over the weekend for the second annual Ben Crump Human Rights Honors to celebrate modern-day champions of justice. Georgia's political future was in the spotlight as Bottoms, a candidate for governor, took the stage to accept the Public Service Award. She pointed out a direct line between Atlanta's civil rights legacy and Georgia's 2026 race for governor. Bottoms described Crump as our generation's Thurgood Marshall. Her remarks had clear political implications, with early voting beginning on April 27th and Georgia's primary on May 19th. Bottoms urged Georgia residents to be critical thinkers as it pertains to what leadership means. Bottoms said she received an endorsement from Governor Newsom indicating national Democratic focus on the Georgia contest. President Trump is demanding that Netflix remove Black former National Security Advisor Susan Rice from its board. This is just one more challenge for the streaming company's pursuit of Warner Brothers Discovery Network. In a Weekend Post, Trump said Netflix should fire racist, Trump-deranged Susan Rice immediately. which was all in caps, or pay the consequences, calling the former top aide in the Obama and Biden administrations a political hack. In a recent interview on former U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara's podcast, Rice said that when Democrats regain power, they should not forgive or forget those corporations that bent the knee to Trump. The president's message was in response to another post by Trump acolyte Laura Loomer criticizing Rice and saying Trump should block the Netflix deal with Warner. I'm Terry McCready for the Black Information Network.
I'm Rufus Williams. Watch the new episode of Bound and Woven, where I sit down with a woman whose story shook this city and moved the nation. Anjanette Young, author of Past the Pain, joins me for a raw and honest conversation about trauma, accountability, and what it really takes to rebuild your life when the system fails you. This is an easy conversation, but it's necessary. Join me for Bound and Woven, streaming now on Vine TV, which you can catch on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV Plus, the WVON app, or simply go to von.tv.
February is Heart Health Month, and the Chicago Department of Public Health is partnering with the Chicago Park District to bring heart health directly to your community. Get free heart health and other screenings at Chicago parks across Austin, Garfield, and Inglewood. Plus, get free access to over 70 Park District fitness centers, February 1st through the 15th. Your heart matters, your health matters, you matter. Visit ChicagoParkDistrict.com for screening dates and locations.
This is Kamini Khan, certified financial planner professional. For the past year, I've been on a mission to change lives and build wealth in our community. Together, we're changing the paradigm. This year, I'm back with a new series, Wealth Strategies, Money Talks. Join me every Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. on the Rufus Williams Show as we have thoughtful discussions around building wealth in our community. We'll discuss topics like investing, savings, tax strategies, retirement, and all things money. Yes, that's Tuesday at 8:30 a.m., so set those alarms. Also, be sure to check out the podcast at WVONWealthShow.com.
Komini Khan is a certified financial planner professional with Optimal Planning Partners in alliance with Equitable Advisors, LLC member SIPC in Oak Brook, Illinois. For more information, please call 630-575-5046.
This report is brought to you by ComEd, powering lives. Here's a great savings idea. Did you know you've got the power to manage your energy? Yep, from usage alerts to energy savings programs and more. ComEd has all kinds of ideas to help you gain control over your energy cost. Find out more at ComEd.com/energy savings.
1690 WVON remembers the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. You were a beacon of light, not only for Chicago, but for the nation. From our family to yours. Rest in peace, Reverend Jackson. Job well done. Live from the Xfinity Studios at WVON, it's the Cleopatra Show on Chicago's essential storyteller, 1690 WVON.
And we are back on the Cleopatra Show. The time is 10:09, and we've been discussing Teens Gone Wild. Do you all remember that? I know I do. I grew up during that era. And Sally Jesse Raphael had it popping. If there was one white woman in America that made me nervous, it would be Sally. She just didn't play. Ricky was a joke. I like Ricky Lake, but you know, if you ever made it on Ricky Lake, you just didn't take her serious. It was Sally. It truly was. And here I go at this, all of this age, this big old age of 38, rocking these red frames, very similar to her. And the red frames, maybe they mean don't play with me on no day, not even the right day. Now we are discussing, unfortunately, carjacking spree that turned deadly, excessively violent, and left carnage. 2 men's lives were stolen. One was a brother, 45, and his name is Damon Kellum of Bronzeville, and another, 22, Darwin Tirado of Lakeview. He was Latino. The suspected killers and carjacking thieves were both African American teenagers, both of whom 18 and 17. I just took down one of the photos of the 18-year-old. I refuse to call them men because teen is what it is, but they'll be tried as men, right? So the phone lines are yours, 773-591-1690. My question of the day is, where do you get your crime news from, your stats? Why does it matter? Because although I bring this story to you, and before you all come with the age-old trope of black on black crime, there's crime everywhere. And there is no thing of white on white crime or Asian on Asian crime or brown on brown crime. Crime is just crime. And when it is committed, is it articulated back to you as such? There's a white suspect, age, blah, 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 blah. No. We in Black America, when they don't say color, we know what time it is. When they don't. But when they do, it's overly done. Why? And I believe it's rooted in fear-mongering. But these crime sprees took place across the city, far north to Lakeview, and as far south, not even just Bronzeville, even though this brother was killed in Bronzeville, they went all the way to 88th, so far south Chicago. I'm going straight to the phone lines. Let's talk to JT. JT, welcome to WVON.
How you doing, Cleopatra?
I'm great, JT.
Let me tell you something. The way I feel about that, I would, it's harsh to say, but I would hang them from the highest tree I could find. Ain't nowhere in the world these kids, you got to make an example out of this. No way. Here it is, you killing somebody for something that belongs to them? No, I don't get with that.
No, I dig it.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
And let me ask you this. Do you think that was their first time doing that?
Well, I mean, you didn't answer my question, so let's talk about that. Where do you get your crime? Where do you get your crime stats from? Your crime data from?
The news.
Which news?
Well, sometimes, majority of the time, WVON.
Okay. I just want to know. And to answer your question, no, there wasn't. I highly doubt that. I think they've been practicing, and the fact that it took place at 4 a.m. makes me beg the question: where's your parents? See, I think there's an element of this always missing. When you are out at 4 a.m. robbing and killing, not only who is raising you, but where are they? They should be right alongside the creation of what they given to society. So good call, JT.
Well, yeah, hello?
Yeah,
Hello?
you want to
Hello?
respond? Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. Now, here's the thing. Those teenagers got to sleep somewhere.
That's what I just said.
You know,
I said who raising them?
Well, they got to be either raising themselves or going from house to house, but someone knows what they're doing. It's not like they're just two secretive guys going around doing this. It's more people know about these kids and what they were doing all along, if they're not even involved. You know, well, that's the thing about it. We sit and we see it, and you just like in the community, you know who the bad kids are. You know what they capable of doing. But what do we do?
JT, we agree. I just said whoever birthed them. See, it don't matter where they pillow hopping from. They should be standing right alongside them in this criminal court defending themselves because this is their gift to society. This is what you created. So I agree with you.
Got to look at. I understand that, Cleopatra. Well, here's the thing. Once you get of that age, 17, 17 and 18, okay, I don't consider no teenager grown. You are a teenager. So when you go out and you do what you do, and the parents are not supposed to be, quote unquote, responsible for you no more, I don't believe in that because you're still a teenager. You know, they still up under your tutelage until you I would say 21 or able to prove to my parents, you had to prove that you were able to handle yourself before you left the house. It wasn't no, I'm 18, I'm ready to go. It wasn't that. You had to prove to them that you were capable of taking care of yourself.
Good call. Thank you. Let's talk to Franklin. Franklin, welcome to WVON.
Hey, Frank, not Franklin. That's my son's name. Good morning, Queen. How you
Good
doing,
morning. I'm great.
Hey, listen, you know what I'm saying? Great subject again. And good morning to everyone else. You know, the sad thing about what the last call was saying, that must be made an example out of. That's true. But see, the problem is there's no example strong enough, no punishment strong enough that we consider an example they can learn from. Because once they can get his life in prison, and when we look at it like this, they know this too. What they're going to finally have in prison, what they should have had out here, have to worry about. I look at two different factors. It does have to do with the family structure. When you said, my sister, where the parents, I hope you said parent, singular, and not parents. I call it two things. I mean, what's happening with crime and violence, first of all, it's only going to get worse. When you bring forth a structure to destroy the black family, what's going on is what they want, what the white racist power structure want to go on when you attack the black family and remove the father. These fathers just go back, whether you're in the home or not, and do the best they can to capture, especially their sons. Okay, well, you break up their families. I'm not making no excuse for them either. Okay, you attack their families to destroy their community. Then you turn around and you won't bring forth a structure that would deal with poverty, you know what I'm saying, and so as an incentive not to commit these things. Because what's happening, my sister, is these crimes are happening in a criminal mind. They happen because there's no incentive not to do it. Then you make a structure where it's hard for them to get a job and get employed. So there's three different categories that they've been attacked on, okay, and this is what we're dealing with. So only thing that we can do, you know what I'm saying, I talked to Cam Bucking this weekend, and I'm saying we give you Democrats all the power to you want to here. You have a beautiful majority. Okay, you go override the governor, he's on board. And any Democrat don't go on board with it, out them out. And they can get voted out of office. But the problem is this right here, it's happening because there's no incentive for it not to happen.
Well, thank you so much. I'm up
You
against
see
a
what I'm
hard
saying?
break, Frank. I really am. But listen, Justin, Jermaine, Thurgood, I see you all on the live line. And Frank made a valid point. Bottom line is, what incentive are we doing to give a deterrent? Now, I could retort, the mayor has given out 30,000+ jobs to young people, on top of creating a pipeline into permanent workforce into our municipal employment, right? But I am betting money as a former educator, this is deeper than just a job. I am betting money, both of whom these suspects are functional illiterates, both of whom I can't predict if they come from a single or a dual family household, both mom and dad. But I am betting that there is a fallout, and I am not blaming Chicago Public Schools. I am guaranteeing that one of two probably opted because it looked cool to be stupid in their era, not in mine, right? If you were dumb in the era when I was coming up, you about went outside and guarded the fence and let us went by because there was a place for you too, right? And it wasn't cool to be stupid. That came later. That came about 10 years later, in all honesty. So I'm guaranteeing there's some bottom fallout, but it cannot be the pathways to work because the pathways to work are being rebuilt. In my era, they rebuilt the city colleges to be reimagined. So when I was in school, Kennedy King was something of the past where everybody it was a revolving door. So I want to take that away and just get down to the nitty gritty. Is it true? Could two things be true at the same time? You know, are you born to be a criminal and you just have different colors? Do you have a taste for it? Is it the games that they're playing? Is it what's on television? Is it what's going on in their household? Bottom line, these teens went on a killing spree and 2 million lives were stolen and they'll never come back. And the carnage is done. And we're discussing it right here, right now. 773-591-1690. I'll take your calls and more when we return.
More from Cleopatra coming up next on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Catch Reverend Al Sharpton online at WVON.com or on the WVON app. Just click the Al Sharpton banner. Tune in every day at 12 noon for your daily dose. And if you miss it, catch the overnight replay from midnight to 3 a.m. We're keeping it real with Al Sharpton on WVON 1690.
Tell everybody, Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Whatever you do, keep it real.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel. Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
It's the afternoon show with Atiba Buchanan and LaDonna Ray.
Cliff from Connecticut.
Listening to white conservative media, not too much is said about the passing of Brother Jesse Jackson. Shout out to WVON, putting so much emphasis and highlighting on the life of our dear brother. That's why we need black media.
Weekdays at 3 p.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
WVON traffic and weather now.
Chicago, good Monday morning, another day, another blessing. Our update begins on the Edens, the Lake Cook to Montrose. Looking good, 15 minutes. Right now on the Kennedy, O'Hare to downtown, a 20-minute trip. The Eisenhower, Wolf to the post office, a 23-minute trip. Slow go inbound between Costner and Ogden. Right now on the Stevenson, Tri-State 2 due Seville Lakeshore Drive, an 18-minute ride. And the Dan Ryan, 95th to downtown, clocking in at a 15-minute trip. Your weather for today, mostly cloudy, snowfall, and a high of 29. I'm Candace McCollum with an update on the roads on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
And now back to the Cleopatra Show on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
And we are back on the Cleopatra Show. The time is 10:23, and we're discussing teens gone wild. They went on a killing spree, a carjacking spree that seized the lives of two men, one of whom was in Bronzeville, the other of Lakeview. And yet they're facing charges, both of whom have been captured and detained because they're flight risks and a threat to society. I am asking the question of the day, and it's this: where do you get your crime facts from? And when it comes to America? And as we discuss this, the two suspects that are apprehended as we speak, both of whom are Black, they're African American teens, both 17 and 18, but they're being tried as men here in the state of Illinois. And I wanted to lay the foundation for those that are joining. Have you ever heard on white crime or Latino on Latino crime? But Black on Black crime is a thing. And who opened up our clip this morning was Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryan, who was just here on the show with me Friday, to discuss about that age-old trope of Black on Black crime, because we don't lead crime in America, not nearly a fraction. And it's not to say that crime doesn't happen in Black America, but crime happens everywhere. And this story hyper localizes it in a way to exasperate the fact that from the stretches to the far north of the city to as far south of the city, crime is happening, but it's not in magnitude. There's a tremendous drop in the past 60 years under this administration, but this is not a utopia. So can all things be true at once? Absolutely. I'm going back to the phone lines. Let's talk to Justice. Justice, welcome to WVON.
Well, Hotep, one of the things I like to discuss is that I get my statistics from quite a few places. Let me start with the barber shop. I get my statistics from the Final Call. I get my statistics from the Watchtower, the Awake. I get my statistics from the block or the neighborhood that I'm in, or from the pastor that's preaching a sermon about crime in his community. Now, I have the remedy. One of the remedies is not the remedy that the brother alluded to by hanging an adolescent. Adolescents have to be developed. Their adolescent minds have to be developed. You have to put them in an atmosphere where that development can happen. When I was in the District of Columbia, this is what the remedy was. Malik Farrakhan and I had a march. Ceasefire, don't smoke your brother and sister, was the thing. We also had the FOI. They had government contracts until the government said, oh, wait a minute, we shouldn't have had awarded the FOI. They changed the culture. They changed the thinking. This is the FOI based upon their discipline in the Mayflower housing apartments. And it works. Now, my remedy to the problem in Chicago is a curfew. Teenagers should be exempt if they're coming from school, coming from work, or they're in an emergency. That's one of the remedies. I also would employ, and I would always ask the National Guard to be a deterrent. You see, you have to start letting people know if you commit these continual crimes, we're going to have a police state.
So
and see how you like that. We already.
So let me ask you, because let me ask you. Wait. I've allowed you to speak for 2 minutes, and you hit a button that caught my attention.
That's the remedy.
So wait, no, I thank God that's not the solution for me right now. But
that's the remedy.
Military, I hear you. You ain't got to say no more.
A woman
wait. Whoa.
Women can't have the remedy. This is a man.
Women can't have, even if it were not for me, you wouldn't have life. See, that's what women can and can't do. Women can and cannot produce life. No. But when you call a woman show, wait. Because I tried to allow an opportunity to engage with you, but you just said something that took me out my whole body. I'm gonna put my body back in so that I can engage you. Without women, you wouldn't have life, brother. So understand that. So when you say what a woman can and can't do, women, you are calling in the same people that will kill you, brother. They'll kill you before they kill me. And you want them to do what for our children? You want them to militarize our children in our state and our community, and they'll take your life before they take mine. I need for us to make it make sense, Justice. You just told me what a woman can and can't do. If it were not for me, I can and cannot have you. I can and cannot carry you into this world. Listen, guys, before I lose my whole self, I'm going to put myself back in my body. Amen. You're talking to a woman that has carried not one, not two, but 3 baby black boys. And if it were not for me, not their father, if it were not for me, they would not have life. So before we talk about militarization in America, black men, I need you to hear me. They'll take your life before they take mine. Ain't no door being held for you because you fine. Ain't no place waiting for you because you look good. Ain't no place waiting for you because you smell good. This is still America. And in a world where women are overstimulated and oversexualized, there's no place for you. The place they have for you is either the jail or grave. If it were not for black women protecting you, caring for you, loving for you, carrying you into this world. So before we use our tongue and make life and death threats to our Black men, our Black boys, our Black people, remember the same people you asking to come protect you, they're ready to kill you. We'll be back after this break.
I'm Candace McCollum, and here's what's happening in your local news. Union postal carriers in Chicago are demanding a fair contract. USPS workers were joined by Governor Pritzker and other elected leaders as they rallied yesterday on Chicago's South Side as part of a day of action by the National Association of Letter Carriers.
Prescriptions to those who can't get to the pharmacy, ballots to the voters, letters to our loved ones. You keep our nation and our people connected. We can't survive without you.
Union leaders say the workers are demanding higher pay and better working conditions. The demands come as President Trump has previously said he is considering privatizing USPS. In other news, the late Reverend Jesse Jackson will be honored this week following his death at the age of 84. Several faith leaders paid tribute to the fallen civil rights leader on Saturday at Rainbow Push headquarters on the South Side.
We met a man by the name of Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson, who has changed Chicago, who has changed America, and he has changed the world.
A number of blankets were blessed at the event and then delivered to shelters and community centers. Jackson's body will lie in state on Thursday and Friday at Rainbow Push. Celebrations of life will take place in South Carolina and Washington, D.C. before a private homegoing service that will be held on March 7th at Push. A live stream of the service will be shared with the public. And a Cook County judge is ordering the cash-strapped village of Dalton to create a plan to pay a $33 million judgment from a 2022 lawsuit. South Suburban Village officials presented concerns last week that Judge William Sullivan would force the Dalton Board to pass a bond that would raise property taxes. The village was given 3 options to pay off the debt, which includes issuing a tax levy increase, issue a bond, or increase costs of services. Dalton owes $40.6 million to the families of John Kiles, who died following a 2016 police chase, and Diane Dunlap, who was left severely injured. I'm Candace McCollum, and that's what's happening in your news now on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Going to be able in a society that you all insist have to have these unfettered access to weapons. Policemen have to understand that a great many people, like in Minnesota, are going to have weapons. In America, when you hear people on the right yelling freedom, they only want 2 freedoms. They want the freedom to carry guns wherever they want and to tell women what to do with their bodies. Those are the only kind of freedoms they're trying to expect.
Weekdays at 5 a.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. Tune in every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. for Speak On It with Dr. Kofi Malik. You've seen him on cable TV. Now hear his spirited conversation on the Talk of Chicago. The question at hand is raising voices of the Negro. That plain and simple. Tune in every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. for Speak On It with Dr. Kofi Malik on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This report is brought to you by Audible. Stuck in traffic? And if you're stuck in traffic, why not take care of you? Who better to help you do that than the top voices in well-being on Audible? Get your first audiobook free when you sign up for a 30-day trial at audible.com/wellbeing.
WVON traffic and weather now.
Chicago, good Monday morning. It is February 23rd. It is time for an update on the roads. And we begin on DuSable Lakeshore Drive, Hollywood to Monroe, a 14-minute trip. All is well on the Dan Ryan, I-57 and the Bishop Ford. Smooth sailing in both directions. Eden's, Lake Cook to Montrose, problem-free, 16 minutes. And right now, if you're on the Kennedy, O'Hare to downtown, a 21-minute trip. Your weather for today, mostly cloudy. A high of 29 tonight, a low of 20 tomorrow. Scattered flurries and a high of 37. I'm Candace McCollum with an update on the roads on the Talk of Chicago. 1690 WVON.
Black History Matters. We're WVON proud.
And now back to the Cleopatra Show on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
And we are back on the Cleopatra Show. The time is 10:35, and yes, the phone lines are lit. Listen, I done got a lot of reach outs. Yes, I am all right. Listen, normally I come in, I'm cooler than the other side of your pillow. That's usually my stylistic performance until, the rubber meets the road and there's like this switch. I must admit it. And the caller previous, when we admittedly welcome in the military to police our state, that's a dog whistle for me. And I've identified through the years, said elected leaders that profess this, neighbors that want it. And then when you see what's happening in America, when you do that and you still declare it, that's interesting. So Sonia and I was just chatting through the break, and we got a proposal that is coming soon in terms of a segment that is going to come with some controversy, because it begs the question of who's raising these folk, and then what are the solutions. And if you say to me, women can't be a part of this solution, I said what I said and I meant it. There is no solution without women, especially Black women. Because without us, there will be no you. And the only you I'm talking to is everybody. Black people, really. Black men. Yes, women carry women, but Black men especially. So it begs the question from a societal standpoint of, now where do we go wrong? Is where do we go from here, right? How do we be the support beacon? And what do we do when things have went too far? 2 lives were stolen. And these are young teens, 18 and 17, that did it. And they went on a spree. They were a conscious mind and conscious body. And they're killers. Now, it hasn't been declared in a court of law, but they took these 2 people's lives. And I don't want to live in a society where I'm over militarized, especially in a police state. That doesn't excite me. In fact, that scares me. Especially as we see this lawlessness breaking out from those that are in cosplay. We ain't even got down to the weeds of how they truly abusing people and the misdeeds. This misconduct that go on, and let alone in our law enforcement today, where they will sexually exploit, abuse, rape, violate, and law enforcement, torture. You better ask some John Burge victims. I have. So I don't find it cool. Anytime you have the authority over man and the abuse over man, somebody always takes it too far. So no, that's a pressure cooker for me. Especially when you think somebody is going to care enough to be good to you and to treat you right. That is just not real. So I'm gonna go back to the phone lines as we continue this conversation. But I meant what I said in terms of Black women, especially, and our ability to carry life. And it's not when America declares that Hallmark should declare that you go tell your mother thank you. No. And there is no conversation without a Black woman, because without a Black woman, there's no protection for a Black man. Not in this country. Don't ever get it twisted. Ever get it twisted. The elevation of a Black woman is only to uplift her Black man and to stand aside him from where I sit, because nobody else in this world will care about him. And this is me speaking, not just because I'm a mother of three black boys. I've always been this way because of the life that I've lived with my parents, my brother, and it just growing up in Chicago. I've never seen an extension of olive branch to a black man unless it is from a black woman or another black man that is sure of himself to grab that man by the hand. So please, for the like of this conversation and its elevation and its opportunities there lie within it, to acknowledge and only see it through an opportunity and lens that is real. It doesn't have to be my preview, but the reality is real when it comes to the love of a black man. There is no conversation that does not include a black woman. I would like to go back to the phone lines. Let's talk to Daryl. Daryl, welcome to WVON.
Hey, how you doing, Cleopatra?
I'm great.
Hey, that's good. And I'm sorry for that last call on that comment because again, I wanted to stay on topic and not go left field like he did. So, Cleopatra, my take on it, and was that we talked about black on black crime, and with your guest, he was talking about how crime was started, like I guess, in another neighborhood up north, or in good affluent neighborhoods, and it came back to the south and west side.
Correct.
Cleopatra, when I say this, see, back in the day, it was the reverse because, we had black on black crime because everything was systemic around here. And, people back in the day knew, where to do their crime at and where not to. But it seemed like with the newer generation, all those, I guess I ain't gonna say safeguards because it wasn't safe anyway, is taken off. And they don't have that reasoning no more, which is, I hate to say, Cleopatra, a little dangerous because what he just said about militarized and everything else, that may give certain groups an excuse to go ahead and try to come in and now start to over police and things you're saying was going on, around, and with ICE and everything else. And that's kind of my take on that too.
I appreciate it. And where do you get your crime facts from, Daryl?
Basically, I get it from certain areas, but I'm gonna be honest, I just really get it from the news because it's so funny. You see it on the news, and then also, you see these on Google and everywhere else on social media, and then these, like I said, internet and so forth. They're being sent to us constantly. So I can't say all of them are accurate, but we're getting these data and we're seeing what's happening, especially in our community.
Good call. Thank you so much. Let's talk to Jermaine. Jermaine, welcome to WVON.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, you know what? I'm listening to everybody, and nobody seems to know where to get the crime stats from. It's actually in the FBI crime stats report. It's online. You can see everything. It's you see it and it's scary. It's almost sad, but it's been like that in the community for maybe 50 years. It shows, we as 15% of the population, and then it'll show, murders done by black people, 50% of murders in the country. So when you have that small percentage of black people commit 50% of the murders, it's cut and dry. You know what I'm saying? It'll show 50% of the robberies in the country, black people. So, and then if you want to really get specific, most of it is males. So what is that? We 15%, and then it's like 8% of men. So 8% doing all this crime, murder and robbery.
Wait.
Maybe
I didn't hear you. Where do you get your crime stats from?
FBI crime.
Oh,
stats
FBI.
report.
Okay, I got you. FBI.
Yes, it's always updated every couple years.
Yeah, but under the administration, I'm glad you repeated it because I thought you said that alphabet. The Trump administration recently scrubbed that data. You do know that, right?
The FBI crime stats?
Mm-hmm. They recently scrubbed that data. I think it was last year. We'll pull that up during the break. But I'm glad you're sharing it because, I mean, at least you have some accurate source. Keep going, though.
Yeah, it's been, to be honest, it's just sad. It's been going on for 40 and 50 years. I come from New York, Brooklyn, New York, and the projects. So I've seen the crime, firsthand, and It's sad because, it's not going to be a change. We got so many people. Everybody got a different way to deal with it. None of it is really working. And, sooner or later, we just got to look in the mirror and say, we got a problem that, nobody else can fix but us, but we do need help now, and it's hard to figure out how to fix it without, being extreme like the other guy. And, a lot of people are saying, we need help. We got to get some real military or this or that, or, we really got to make an example. But, it's, what do you say? Because you've worked every other option before that, for 50 years and still nothing's
but see, you're from New York. How long have you been in Chicago?
25 years.
25 years. So half of that has been with one of the longest serving dynasties in the city, the Dailies. So 50 plus years, right? So when we talk about a regime that was really a contributor, the first one was the ultimate contributor to what we now declare to be the most segregated city in America because of the implementation of the Dan Ryan and the division that sowed in between that and the lack of resources that were poured into. So you cannot acknowledge one without acknowledging the other, which is systemic and structural racism. So with saying that, we have not done all that we can do in 50 years. In fact, we just had in this mayoral administration to sow into our public school system with the money that is not even owed to them, right? The money that he poured into them, right? To not only address the oppressive tactics, but the systemic structures that have collapsed the school system. And that's just one entity, right? So ultimately, this highlights a whole nother conundrum that you cannot acknowledge one without the other. So we have not done all that we can in 50 years. We've done the best that we can as Black families, despite the influx of drugs in our community, despite the uptick in violence in our community, despite the low performing schools, despite the low performing conditions, despite the lack of quality of life in our conditions in our communities, we still are here. So we have not been given all of our due to make it affluent, to make it thrive. So I want you to think about that, Jermaine. And before we go to an extreme Gestapo tactic that we already see unhinged and unleashed across America, think about what we could have done if we were given what was supposed to be poured into us to make us equitable, not just equal. Excellent call. So this is the type of framework, since class is back in session, that I want us to operate from. A world that would put us at an equal plateau to those that are our counterparts. We have not been given that. In what world? When you have a dynasty that is 50 plus years elongated under Daily, what world? When have you been given your due or your opportunity to reach a pinnacle? And then when you do have, there are pivotal examples that these people, these suspects, these teens could have followed, but they chose a whole nother world, a dark world, an evil world where they took lives for a car. That's some mental illness. That's a whole nother dark world. And I'm not trying to make an excuse for them. They probably did it in their right mind. And in their right mind, that is as far as that car was able to drive. Think about it. Let's talk to, I'm trying to get the longest holding. Let's talk to Brother Thurgood. Thurgood, welcome to WVON.
It's a pleasure to hold and listen to your insights and the WVON listeners. But I agree totally on the points that you've made and other callers. I'm a proud product of the Chicago public school system, and I'm sure I think a couple of points that point us the solution. In the European EU says, where do I get my stats from? There's a site online that documents that in all of the EU in 2023, that includes Germany, France, Britain, various states, most of which very diverse, there was a total of, drum roll please, for 2023, 3,930 homicides in the EU. What do they have different? They have, by and large, free healthcare, free education, stronger unions. They have black and white people all over the world, but they do not have the gripping poverty that we have. There is a social safety net. We live in a nation where even our president is scrambling and trying to get every dime as the billionaire pedophile class tries to scrape every dime. A couple observations. Where you have this notion of being able to, get tough on crime. We've already tried that for decades. That goes back to the Ronald Reagan Nixon response to the civil rights the riots. We incarcerate more people in this country than any other nation, per capita in real numbers. So think about it. That's very important to those who say, "Well, bring in the National Guard, lock them up." You've been trying that for decades. I'm a first generation to go to college from Inglewood. The solution is education. Give people opportunity. This is nothing new in history. Let's think about the Roaring '20s, where they had the drive-by shooting wasn't invented by black people. Put a pin in that. It was invented by the Irish, the Italian, the Jewish gangsters of the '20s during the Great Depression. What was the solution? Locking people up? No, we put people to work. Keynesian economics, what is that? It says put people to work, not lay people off as this administration does, mass firings of people, cutting contracts and grants and the like. No, and it's no wonder that this administration wants to cut jobs and create, because it results in people being in prison. They have a mass, Pam Bundy is from the private prison industry. She was a lobbyist for the private prison industry. The private industry gave Mr. Trump millions of dollars, and it's paid off, because right now we have a building spree funded by billions of dollars and making prisons and the like, concentration camps. And there are complaints already now. To your point, you spoke earlier about how people will abuse people, Commander Burge and the like, when they have them incarcerated. So the correlation is clear. There was a guy named, there was a movie called Roger and Me, this documenting that when they closed the factories in Flint, Michigan, this was the Michael Moore film, Roger and Me, 1989, documenting how foreclosures and crime went up. So the solution is clear. In the New Deal, we made an investment in people. We put people to work. That's the cure. Putting people to work, giving them opportunities, education.
Thurgood, you're sounding real progressive. And they use that like a dog whistle.
Hardcore progressive.
Right. Like they use it like a dog whistle. You are on the money as always, brother. When we come back, Mustafa, Michael, brother Chris, Keith, I see you on the live line. You don't want to miss this.
More from Cleopatra coming up next on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Tuned in to your favorite WVON personalities on Facebook Live? Don't just watch, like it, love it, share it. Every click helps us grow the conversation and keep the community strong. So remember, like it, love it, share it, Chicago.
This Black History Month, WVON is coming with a message. Kiss My Black Past. We're partnering with adopted Chicago artist Keith David Connor, the visionary behind Black history illustrations that have inspired Chicago for years. His latest work, The Culture Proud Calendar, connects to WVON's Eracism campaign at a time when Black history and Black identity are under attack. This month, we're not just celebrating the past, we're protecting it and pushing forward. Unapologetically Black, unapologetically proud. This Black History Month, WVON doesn't just honor history, we make it.
It all comes down to this, folks. Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel. Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That fun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Have you checked out WVON's digital streaming network, Bond TV? It's everywhere on Roku, Apple TV Plus, Amazon Fire, on the WVON app, and at VON.TV. Bond TV, it's cultural content on purpose.
WVON traffic and weather now.
Chicago, happy Monday. It is time for an update on the roads. And overall, we are still looking pretty good. No worries. If you're on the Eden, the Lake Cook to Montrose, a 16-minute trip. Kennedy, O'Hare to downtown, 19 minutes. Right now, if you're on the Dan Ryan, 95th to downtown, a 16-minute trip. Slow go inbound between Cermak and Roosevelt. Still looking good on I-57 and the Bishop Ford in both directions. Your weather for today, mostly cloudy. We are expecting some snowfall throughout the morning and a high of 29. I'm Candace McCollum with an update on the roads on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
And now back to the Cleopatra Show on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Changing people's hands over. Oh, a different young man.
And we are back on the Cleopatra Show. The time is 10:55, and I'm going straight to the phone lines. Let's talk to Brother Mustafa. Mustafa, talk to me. Welcome to WVON.
Thank you for your show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for your show and all that you do. Boy, when I heard that story about them young cats, man, I was like, wow. A couple of these dudes, they mama might be a nurse, work for the city. You never know, trying to make a better way for them. But they was out there on a mission, and that mission went sideways. Let me answer this first. I get my crime news from Illinois Department of Corrections, Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction, other sociologists and criminologists. We crunch data. We put things together to try to reach some people before they go on a mission. Because oftentimes, young guys are influenced by a host of things. A host of different avenues influence them. But the bottom line, they want to get resources. They want to get some money. And if they deterred or they misled, they'll lead to crime. So, we got to educate our people from the gate, because sometimes mom and dad may not have that opportunity that they would like to have because of their work schedule, trying to provide for the home. But things get missed. And youngsters like that be, left alone to their own laurels. So we have what we had. It's truly unfortunate. I once had a business in Bronzeville, and I was like, man, them young cats could have rolled up on me. So, boy, there's many solutions and applications out there to get people together. We just have to apply them. We're going to save some, and we're going to lose some.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you for the call. Let's talk to Brother Keith. Keith, talk to me. Welcome to WVON.
Good morning, Mrs. Cleopatra Draper. Thank you and your team for hosting this forum and giving me a chance to speak in it. Respect to Thurgood's comments earlier. My input, where I get my stats from, the news and whatever I read. My wife, however, she goes to the police department, CPD, to get stats, and she'll also go to the census to get demographic, socioeconomic demographic information. When I look at the news, I know I'm not getting the full story. Read or whatever the news, I know I'm getting part of the story, but you have to dig down deeper to understand. And my personal interpretation, is that you have 9 million people in Chicago. When you stack people on top of each other like that, life happens, good side and bad side. And it's easy to be irresponsibly victimized by our population. This is my opinion. It's easy to say, okay, I should just walk down the street and everything should be all good. That's not realistic with that many people stacked on top of each other, in my opinion. This is not a panacea. I think we should be aware of our environments, keep your head on the swivel, like they say in the military, I think we should plan. We should have escape plans from wherever we are. Okay, I'm here. I don't want anybody too close to me. If I need to get out of here, I'm going that way. Whether it's a fire or whatever else comes, I'm gonna head that way to get out of here. And I think we should be insured. We take on risks in living in general. So insure your car, your home, and your life. Hopefully things don't happen but as we see in your example, things do happen. So I think insurance and personal responsibility is important factors on top of policing. And I don't agree with the militarization of policing, but personal responsibility is important. Is important to deal with the realities of life. Thank you, ma'am. Good day.
Excellent call. Listen, guys, I'm up against a break. When we come back, I have a very special guest. We're going to talk about blowing a whistle. That's right. A whistle was blew on CHA when it comes to those that are differently able. And it caught my attention, and it should captivate yours. You don't want to miss this.
I'm Candace McCollum, and here are your WVON news headlines. Faith leaders honor Reverend Jesse Jackson at weekend Rainbow Push Coalition event. Postal carriers rally on South Side for fair contract. And Cook County judge orders Dalton to create plan for paying $33 million judgment. We will have details on these stories and much more headed your way. National news from the Black Information Network is up next on Chicago's only urban talk radio station, WVON, 1690 AM, Berwyn, Chicago.
Here's PIN News Now. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro is warning that President Trump's push to keep tariffs in place despite the Supreme Court's ruling will only create more chaos.
I think there's real legal questions. And look, we've seen now that the president was acting outside his legal authority. By the way, not a new thing for him.
The court said the White House overreached under the Emergency Economic Powers Act. A new Economist YouGov poll finds 47% of Americans say the word racist describes President Trump, while 24% disagree. The poll follows backlash over a video Trump shared that briefly depicted Barack and Michelle Obama as apes, something he later blamed on a staffer. And the cause of death for Florida rapper Lil Papa is now confirmed as a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The 25-year-old born Janarius Wheeler rose to fame at 18 with music about surviving a shooting in Jacksonville. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app. Now back to Terry McCready.
California Governor Gavin Newsom says President Trump is flailing after the Supreme Court ruled against most of his tariffs. The Democrat making the comment on CNN's State of the Union after Trump announced a new 15% global tariff hike following the High Court's decision.
I mean, the whole thing is a farce. I talk about petulance. It was 10% 2 days ago, maybe 20% tomorrow. I mean, this is madness.
Newsom also called on the president to refund the revenue from the tariffs. The High Court ruled last week the White House was unjustified in issuing sweeping tariffs under the Emergency Economic Powers Act. U.S. tariff policies negatively impact African economies by reducing export demand, hobbling GDP growth, and threatening manufacturing jobs. A 10 percentage point tariff hike could slash African exports to the U.S. by more than 8%, with significant disruptions in countries like Lesotho and Botswana.
I've never met Donald Trump, but I don't like his policies, and his policies are hurtful to Georgia.
Black former mayor of Atlanta, Keisha Lance Bottoms, weighing in about the president last year, and she was on hand over the weekend for the second annual Ben Crump Human Rights Honors to celebrate modern-day champions of justice. Georgia's political future was in the spotlight as Bottoms, a candidate for governor, took the stage to accept the Public Service Award. She pointed out a direct line between Atlanta's civil rights legacy and Georgia's 2026 race for governor. Bottoms described Crump as our generation's Thurgood Marshall. Her remarks had clear political implications, with early voting beginning on April 27th and Georgia's primary on May 19th. Bottoms urged Georgia residents to be critical thinkers as it pertains to what leadership means. Bottoms said she received an endorsement from Governor Newsom indicating national Democratic focus on the Georgia contest. President Trump is demanding that Netflix remove Black former National Security Advisor Susan Rice from its board. This is just one more challenge for the streaming company's pursuit of Warner Brothers Discovery Network. In a Weekend Post, Trump said Netflix should fire racist, Trump-deranged Susan Rice immediately, which was all in caps, or pay the consequences, calling the former top aide in the Obama and Biden administrations a political hack. In a recent interview on former U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara's podcast, Rice said that when Democrats regain power, they should not forgive or forget those corporations that bent the knee to Trump. The president's message was in response to another post by Trump acolyte Laura Loomer criticizing Rice and saying Trump should block the Netflix deal with Warner. I'm Terry McCready for the Black Information Network.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Kyle Cox started Blindster in his garage back in 2010. Since then, they've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters nationwide. Their blinds are DIY friendly, guaranteed to fit, and always cheaper than big box stores. Blindster.com.
Community Tech Support, Matthew speaking.
Hi, I live in a pretty remote place, like Jurassic Park remote. No!
Wow.
Will Xfinity Mobile work out here?
Yep, the combination of reliable Wi-Fi and 5G makes it so that you can stay connected in all kinds of places. Plus, you get access to ultra-fast speeds and coverage, whether you're poolside or out live streaming with a T-Rex.
Hold still, you're about to go viral.
Welcome to a new era of Wi-Fi boosted mobile. Cut your mobile bill in half with 2 lines of unlimited. Discover a new era of Wi-Fi boosted mobile at xfinitymobile.com. Xfinity. Imagine that. Watch Jurassic Park with Xfinity. Savings comparison based on promotional rate for 2 lines of Xfinity Mobile Unlimited versus 2 lines of T-Mobile Experience More, Verizon Unlimited Plus, and AT&T Starter as of February 10th, 2026.
Hey, Alexa, play WVON 1690 AM.
Getting WVON 1690 AM station from iHeartRadio.
Try it out for yourself. America is listening to WVON.
This is Kamini Khan, certified financial planner professional. For the past year, I've been on a mission to change lives and build wealth in our community. Together, we're changing the paradigm. This year, I'm back with a new series, Wealth Strategies, Money Talks. Join me every Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. on the Rufus Williams Show as we have thoughtful discussions around building wealth in our community. We'll discuss topics like investing, savings, tax strategies, retirement, and all things money. Yes, that's Tuesday at 8:30 a.m., so set those alarms. Also, be sure to check out the podcast at WVONWealthShow.com.
Komini Khan is a certified financial planner professional with Optimal Planning Partners in alliance with Equitable Advisors, LLC member SIPC in Oak Brook, Illinois. For more information, please call 630-575-5046.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Kyle Cox started Blindster in his garage back in 2010. Since then, they've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters nationwide. Their blinds are DIY friendly, guaranteed to fit, and always cheaper than big box stores. Blindster.com.
Dad! Come on! Over here! Look at this, Dad! Over here!
Whoa. The moment my son saw a redwood tree.
It's huge!
Is the moment I knew that for him,
You can't even see the top of that thing!
even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go, like hiking, biking, fishing, or camping. Or do your own thing when you get there with family and friends. Your moment is out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org. That's discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
1690 WVON remembers the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. You were a beacon of light, not only for Chicago, but for the nation. From our family to yours. Rest in peace, Reverend Jackson. Job well done. Live from the Xfinity Studios at WVON, it's the Cleopatra Show on Chicago's essential storyteller, 1690 WVON.
And we are back on the Cleopatra Show. The time is 11:10, and it ain't even fired up Monday. It's a manic Monday. That's how you know it's kind of crazy. I see you all in the chat. Be sure to like and share the show. Weigh in. Tell me how you really feel. Tell the world how you feel, because I'm telling you, they listening. From the halls on Pennsylvania Avenue to the county, across the state, and right there in the belly of the beast. That's right, the city of the council. They listening. Now, this story caught my attention. And I caught one similar just like it last night. And Sonia and I are going to get all over that beat like sprinkles. CHA has violated disability, civil rights laws for years, whistleblower and HUD say. Black and brown and elderly CHA residents languished and died, their names sitting on a de facto waiting list for nearly a decade before their much needed and deserved reasonable accommodations were ever met and made available, according to the whistleblower, who's on the live line to join us in conversation is Mike Allen. Mike Allen, I'd like to take the time to welcome you to the Cleopatra Show. How are you?
Thanks very much. So I'm Michael Allen with a civil rights law firm, Relman Colfax in Washington, D.C. Happy to comment on this. Just to be clear, I am not the whistleblower.
No, I know that. I was going to lay that out. No, but I appreciate it because you are looking at it through a lens of legalese, and that's what I want to talk about because in the city, I can practically almost guarantee if we don't know somebody that is a recipient, we know somebody that is in violation, and we don't know what to do. And this is why it caught my attention because all I could say was it's about damn time, right? So it's folk like you that are going to champion and lead the way in some regard, hopefully in advocacy for those that have been tremendously impacted. So in what ways are you showing up and showing out when it comes to fair housing and the violations of both the disability and civil rights and this opportunity against CHA?
Well, to be clear, I'm based in Washington, D.C. We have a national practice. Most of my practice over the last 20 years has been focused on disability rights issues, and particularly accessibility in housing. So I know a fair amount about what the federal government requires of a housing authority, including CHA. And I've certainly read with interest the news coverage of the whistleblower's complaint and have followed, for the last probably 10 or 15 years, the ins and outs of whether the Chicago Housing Authority is actually complying with federal disability rights laws as far as its residents are concerned. You know that the folks who live in CHA housing are among the lowest income folks in Chicago, and they depend on CHA to do the right thing by them. And when the CHA refuses to take in these requests for reasonable accommodation, can you move me to a ground floor unit? Can you install a grab bar in my bathroom so I don't fall when I'm trying to transfer from my wheelchair, to the toilet or to the tub? These are the kinds of things that are the difference for people with disabilities between being able to live good lives and integrated lives in the community and maybe end up being injured or, as in the case of this whistleblower complaint, some CHA residents actually died while waiting for their reasonable accommodation. So our firm is all over the country at matters like this, and we try to assist local advocates and nonprofits to enforce the federal disability rights laws.
And it truly is unfortunate. I'll give you this story. A close person to me was impacted by gun violence, tragically, in their CHA home. And due to the trauma, they asked for an emergency removal and to, no longer be on the ground level floor because the bullet did enter on that level. There was an absolute refusal to not only address the emergency removal, but the accommodations for the ground level. The person had disabled children and was grazed by the bullet. I was dumbfounded. Now, I did do all that I could to argue and to support emergency removal, but that is not the first time I've heard that caliber of story. And I know this to be true. Like I said, it was impacted directly to somebody I know and care about very deeply. And I'm an organizer. I'm a door knocker. And I've knocked a lot of doors throughout Chicago Housing Authority. And I've heard all kind of stories. And I'm just jaw dropped at the impact that this, has not come sooner. So what do you say to those that are listening that have survived these violations? What should they do?
Well, let me make an observation, based on the example that you just gave. The protections for people with disabilities in this country reflect the fact that for decades or centuries, people with disabilities have been given the back of the hand. They've been required to deal with architectural barriers. They've been up against, these rigid rules that aren't going to be relaxed by a housing authority or by a landlord. Disability is the protected class under civil rights laws that any one of us could join at a moment's notice. The Supreme Court tells us that there are probably 60 to 70 million people who qualify for the civil rights definition of disability in this country, and so they're entitled to protection under the Fair Housing Act, under the Americans with Disabilities Act, and other laws, and particularly when a place like the Housing Authority, which gets a lot of federal money every year to run its programs, there are other federal laws that apply as well. And so there are complaint processes that are available that folks should clearly take advantage of. There are some wonderful advocacy organizations in Chicago, including one called Access Living, that helps people make these complaints on the basis of disability and to get them resolved. The Department of Housing and Urban Development is supposed to be watching the Housing Authority and holding its feet to the fire when it doesn't, provide these accommodations, these modest changes, whether it's moving a unit or giving somebody a reserved handicap parking space or allowing somebody who's blind to have a guide dog or a service animal. So the complaint process is there, but clearly something has broken down here. It appears from this news coverage that the Chicago Housing Authority thinks that it is not answerable to anybody for violation of these rights. And I hope that this news is shining a bright light on these problems and making it clear that Chicagoans are being shafted by the housing authority when their rights are not recognized.
No, I appreciate that. And I thank you so much for your support with this story. Is there any uplift, any direction you would like to provide? If we did have more whistleblowing, is there a direction in which you can point us to tell these stories to so that we can fight back?
Well, clearly the whistleblower who came forward, and I understand that there may be other housing authority officials or former officials, employees who've experienced and seen this very same thing. Those folks are really brave. They put their jobs on the line in order to speak for people whose voices are not being heard. And so I think that, again, shining the bright light on this and making this a topic of discussion in the media and on your show is one of the best ways to take these issues, which are typically hidden in the dark corners where people feel like there's nothing that they can do about them, and bring them out into the light of day. I hope, to the extent that political leaders in Chicago have any influence at all with CHA or with HUD, that they will encourage HUD to double down here and to get CHA under what's known as a voluntary compliance agreement, so that CHA residents don't have to go about this one person at a time, kind of on their own, but to have a general federal mandate placed on them with the Department of Housing and Urban Development watching closely to make sure that this kind of thing doesn't happen again, and that CHA puts into place a process where somebody makes a request, it gets answered in a matter of days, and the underlying problem gets solved. So again, seeing the light of day, I think, is important here for public debate. I suspect we'll get CHA and HUD to pay closer attention to what's going on.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by the Cleopatra Show, Michael. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Have a good day.
All right, guys, listen, I'll take your calls and more when we return. You don't want to miss this.
More from Cleopatra coming up next on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Remember when getting your hair done wasn't just a beauty ritual, but a bonding experience? From hot combs in Grandma's kitchen to laughter in the local beauty salon, it's a journey rooted in love, legacy, and style. Join Nidra Williams, owner of Solo Beauty Supply, for the Business of Black Hair, Tuesday nights from 9 to midnight. She's bringing the sisterhood back. One story, one strand at a time. It's more than hair, it's heritage. Join the sisterhood. Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. on the Talk of Chicago, WVON.
It's D.L. Hughley.
Either we are going to be able, in a society that you all insist have to have these unfettered access to weapons. Policemen have to understand that a great many people, like in Minnesota, are going to have weapons. In America, when you hear people on the right yelling freedom, they only want two freedoms. They want the freedom to carry guns wherever they want and to tell women what to do with their bodies. Those are the only kind of freedoms they're trying to expect.
Weekdays at 5 a.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That fun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hey, it's Cleopatra Draper. Join me for the Midday Show weekdays at 9 a.m. where we'll sip and spill all the tea. Do you want it hot or cold? Either way, we're serving up the flavor of the day. Weekdays at 9 a.m. right here on the station giving you what's now and what's next. 1690 WVON.
WVON traffic and weather now.
Happy Monday and good morning. Those expressways overall, we are still looking good, but we got to talk about the Eisenhower. Right now, we have 3 right lanes blocked on the outbound side at Sacramento. We are solid from California due to an accident. Eden's, Lake Cook to Montrose looking pretty good. Just a 15-minute ride. Kennedy O'Hare to downtown, 18 minutes. Smooth sailing if you're on the Dan Ryan. 95th to downtown, a 13-minute ride. I-57 and the Bishop Ford, no worries. Your weather for today, expect a high of 29 degrees, mostly cloudy, and tonight a low of 20. I'm Candace McCollum with an update on the roads on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
And now back to the Cleopatra Show on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
You're so unsure, and you run here and there to ask my feelings.
And we are back on the Cleopatra Show. Listen, guys, everybody that knows something about what I'm saying, if you got a cousin, family member, even if you yourself have been on the list since the 99 to the 2000s, and we all know somebody that knows something about that. That list that I'm talking about is Chicago Housing Authority. And there's a whistleblower that is saying for years, for decades, the violations of both disability, civil rights have been a known factor within HUD. That's Housing for Urban Development. And it's couched under that as CHA. You know, what do we do with that? I'm going to bring somebody that can specifically speak to it. Admittedly, I heard the attorney, but that wasn't good enough. Nope. I need somebody that's going to blow the whistle. And when we blow the whistle, what comes next? I know too many folk that have been suffering, waiting to be housed. And that is an issue. So you have my commitment. We'll bring this back around. And I want to sink my teeth into it because we have all, and if the answer has been, well, I'm just going to move to Minnesota, move to Iowa, I'm going to move to Wisconsin. That is not the answer because you yourself have accepted the push out. And that is what they wanted to accomplish. And you answered that without even knowing it. Let's talk to Brother Chris. Brother Chris, welcome to WVON.
Good morning, Ms. Cleopatra. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Good. How's the family? How's the new addition?
Everybody is well.
Good to hear. Shout out to the WVON family. And, of course, love to the Jackson family and condolences, Reverend Jackson. So my piece with the CHA, we've known they've been horrible since the 80s when they let the elevators run down, urine in the hallway and stuff like that. And Rom set on $400 or $500 million, so we know that. As far as the criminal justice system in this country, it is sickening and antiquated. Those people who killed those people for a piece of sheet metal, the car, they should suffer the consequences and the full weight of the law, on that piece. But this is the same criminal justice system. Even in the states with the death penalty, the crime is high. FBI stated the number one threat is white, homegrown terrorists in the United States. They haven't touched that third rail. You got companies that are heavily invested in the justice systems, making products, paying the inmates pennies or whatever. They've taken out, classes and stuff where they go in there and make this stuff better so they won't, reoffend. So it's needs a total overhaul, but it's working, to perfection. And again, those who broke the law, and did that, whatever, the murder for a vehicle is not acceptable. But we have seen this justice. How much, if you got the money, it depends on how much justice you want. Because you see, January 6th, they got a slap on the hand. But again, this criminal justice system is broken, Cleopatra, And, we pick winners and losers. And, it needs to get better. So if somebody does offend, they go in there, get skills if they have to, come out and be, pay their dues to society and try to come out and salvage their life. But, murdering someone for a car that's not yours is, raping or whatever. None of that's successful. Thank you, Cleopatra.
Absolutely. What Brother Chris is addressing is societal woes, issues, and the ugliness. We will continue this conversation, Black America, because he said a thing, and I raised it already. The FBI said who's the most wanted and who's the most aggressive and who's the biggest threat in America. Now, are you listening? It doesn't take away from the fact that this is happening in Black America. But it is a conversation to be held, because somebody else said their parents could be nurses, and they'll tell them what their parents are doing. But it is the actions of these people. And we're going to do a special segment. It's a controversial one, so I want to warn you all, but it's forthcoming. Now, tomorrow, class will be back in session at 9 a.m. It is always a blast to be with you on this day. Tomorrow is Theory Tuesday. So when I do that, that means you cut up my music, brother. So tomorrow is Theory Tuesday. And I look forward to bringing you both theoretical and practical opportunities of dialogue, because that's what we do on the Cleopatra Show. I want you all to do me a favor. Be sure to like and share the show, right? And it is important that we spread the word when it comes to the realness of what we're doing here every day. So happy Black History Month. I forgot to share my husband's black fact, but today is the day that started the week of Black History Month. So shout out to Dr. Carter G. Woodson, for which we celebrate 100 years of Black history, and we do it best 365 days here every day at WVON. So I'll see you all at 9 a.m. Don't be late for class.
I'm Candace McCollum, and here's what's happening in your local and national news. The late Reverend Jesse Jackson will be honored this week following his death at the age of 84. Tammy Trujillo has more.
Jackson's civil rights organization, the Rainbow Push Coalition, has announced the former presidential candidate will lie in state at the group's headquarters in Chicago beginning this Thursday, with the People's Celebration on Friday. Memorial services for Jackson will also be held in early March in Washington, D.C. and South Carolina. The exact time and location of those services have not been announced yet. Jackson was born in Greenville, South Carolina, and in 1960